Hi, welcome to TNT. Well, if it's not one scam, it's another. We'll expose a scam that's just popped up the last few days. Also, a new check-in procedure and passport control for a lot of Thai airports. Also, the closure of somewhat of a Bangkok institution. That's all coming up in today's TNT. We'll get to that scam story shortly, but acknowledging the sponsor 5 Star Marine, also Beach House Thailand. There's links in the description below, or you can go to those websites that are on the screen. Thank you for their ongoing support. Now, just before we sort of get into some of the bad news, a statistic that I read about last night that I went, oh, really? And published by Calcite English on their Facebook page, Thailand's now the largest agricultural product exporter in ASEAN and the 8th globally. Now, this was announced by the Ministry of Commerce and published in the PR department's Facebook page. And the minister says the exports to the free trade area partners amounted to some 12.7 billion US, making Thailand the largest exporter of agricultural products in ASEAN and the 8th globally. Major importers of Thai products include China, ASEAN countries of course, Japan, South Korea, and the top 5 agricultural exports were fresh and frozen fruit, rice, rubber chicken perhaps, and cassava products. So Thailand putting in its efforts as part of the food bowl for the world, and we head from food exports to the airports. Bangkok Post leading with the story, no more boarding passes, facial recognition to start in 6 Thai airports. Let's try and figure this all out. An automated biometric identification system using facial recognition technology will be implemented in 6 Thai airports later this year to let passengers show their physical ID only once. So the 6 airports are AOT, Airports of Thailand airports. We'll go through those at the end of the article. And the system will be ready for domestic passengers on November the 1st, well that's just 3 days away, and international passengers on December the 1st. And to use the system, passengers will be required to allow access to their identification information when checking in at the counter or self-service check-in at the airports. So I'm thinking you've got passports, you've got facial recognition, you've got the fingerprints. How are they going to do this? And the story says the system will collect passengers' biometric information and travel itineraries electronically, allowing them to go from the baggage drop to the boarding gate without showing passports and boarding passes. Now, each registration is only for one journey. So we're doing our check-in, we're doing our biometrics, I assume, at check-in, and then we're just going straight to the boarding gate. I imagine we'd have to, of course, go through some sort of X-ray or security on the way. And the 6 airports that will use the system are Suvarnabhumi, Don Mueang, Chiang Mai, the Mae Fah Luang, which is Chiang Rai, Phuket, and Hat Yai International Airports. And just a note, it says passenger numbers using the airports in September and October have risen by almost 20% from the same period last year, expected to be higher next year. And just a side note from the Bangkok Post, new Phuket direct flights to bring more Kazakhstani tourists. Well, that grabbed my attention because I went to Kazakhstan from Phuket Airport, 2 months ago now. I flew into Almaty with Air Astana, but apparently they've now opened flights from another city direct to Phuket. And Phuket's looking to an increase in tourists from Kazakhstan following the start of direct flights to and from the Central Asian country's remote capital, Astana. And the service is operated by Air Astana. The maiden direct flight from Astana arrived in the Southern Island province on Sunday. And a representative of the TAT said Kazakhstanis, I think they like to be referred to as Kazakhs, were the second largest group of visitors from the Central Eastern European region after Russians. So I had a fabulous time in Kazakhstan, a place I'm certainly going to head back to. I thoroughly enjoyed Almaty and I'd like to fly into their capital Astana as well and just do a bit more exploring. And no, Air Astana are not a sponsor, just a place I thoroughly enjoyed going to, and certainly look forward to heading back one day. Now, speaking of scams, we're going to give you an update on the Icon Group a bit later, but this popped up yesterday and it's come up in a few different feeds, and I just want to debunk it and make sure people don't do anything like click on the links or anything like that. And it's published to look like an article from The Nation Thailand. More about that in a moment. And the actual website is techgenius-ai.com. Don't bother going there. Don't bother reading it. Don't bother looking them up. And just to note that Nation Thailand did change their logo quite a while ago now, and this banner, Nation Thailand, they haven't been publishing a newspaper for 4 or 5 years now. And to the article, and it's got this headline talking about His Majesty the King, the latest investment has experts in awe and big banks terrified. Bullshit. The King, Maha Vajiralongkorn, comes out with new secret investment. He did not, and then a picture of His Majesty saying that he's come out with a new secret investment. He has not. And then rubbish like this. Last week, His Majesty appeared on Bangkok Business Newsroom and announced a new wealth loophole, which he says can transform anyone into a millionaire. He did not. That's false information. It's fake news, and I would have thought extremely actionable. And I'd be surprised if this website wasn't closed down before the end of today. It talks about an exclusive interview with King Maha Vajiralongkorn. That didn't happen and will never happen. Then it says you may have heard about this new cryptocurrency investment platform. I'm not going to give them any fresh air. That's helping regular people in Asia, Europe and North America build fortunes overnight. So just another cryptocurrency scam, and I only bring it to your attention because it's certainly been doing the rounds on some Thai social media and forums, and maybe some people see that Nation banner and it gives it some credibility, and of course with the assumed backing of the monarch of Thailand. Certainly the royal family would in no way get involved with a scam like this. And just a quick update, speaking of scams, the Icon Group, what's the latest? Police send huge Icon fraud case to the Department of Special Investigations, this published by the Bangkok Post. And police have handed the Icon Group case file to the DSI yesterday so it could be treated as a special case. They transferred 18 boxes containing the complaints of 325 victims of the alleged pyramid scheme. Understanding the actual number of complaints is now over 10,000. And the article notes that all the suspects, including the founder and CEO, Boss Paul, have been charged with colluding in public fraud and putting false information into a computer system. Some are celebrities who received tens of millions of baht. They've all denied the charges. It's all a bit sad. They didn't approach me, ask me to be one of the bosses. Could have been Boss Tim. I could have been offering you all these wonderful beauty products that apparently don't work. Okay, to a bit of sad news, especially in the culinary arena, and this was published once again by Calcite English, and one Michelin Star street food chef, Jay Fai, has announced she's closing down her popular Bangkok restaurant. Jay Fai won a Michelin Star for 7 consecutive years, and her signature dish is crab omelette. Always seen behind the wok and always with those goggles, but there's a bit more to this. Bangkok Post has the headline, "Closure of Bangkok's Michelin Star restaurant, Jay Fai, reflects industry-wide problems." And the planned closure of the famous Michelin one-star restaurant, Jay Fai, reflects a string of problems in the food supply chain, particularly high energy and raw material costs. This is according to the Restaurant Business Club. One of the reasons cited for the planned closure is rising logistic costs, which resulted in a surge of up to 10% in the cost of seafood compared to this year's first quarter. And the prices of several vegetables rose sharply following weeks of floods in the country's northern and northeastern region. For example, the price of coriander has now reached 240 baht a kilo, up from 160 baht a kilo prior to the floods. And this was a bit surprising. Jay Fai's real name is Supinya, and she's 81 years old. And she said she would take a break as she gradually reduced the restaurant's operating days from 6 to 4 days per week. And she admitted that running the business is very tiring. So I've only been to her restaurant once. The queue was so long and I have zero patience, so I didn't actually get to try one of the crab omelettes. But yeah, I think at 81 she probably deserves a good retirement. But a bit of sad news for foodies, and we'll just have to see what next culinary star rises to the top in the Bangkok food scene. But thanks for watching today. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with some of the main things happening around Thailand. I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. That would be the best thing you could do to help. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow.